We Dig Community tells the stories of the people and organizations behind Community Bucket's service-made social mission. We hope you enjoyed this episode and, of course, subscribe to listen to future shows and stay part of the community.
Okay, we are live. Welcome. Today, y'all, we have Adrienne Sherwood with us. Thanks for coming and joining us, Adrienne.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, we're really glad that you're able to join. We're recording in the afternoon, but hopefully someone could be listening to this at any time. And we're just glad you're here with us. Jesse is, of course, joining from Denver. Adrienne, where are you joining from today?
I'm actually at my office off of North Avenue across from Pond City Market. And let me tell you, everyone is back in the office. So it's been a fun day.
Oh, that's so great. Well, I, of course, have known Adrienne for quite some time. Jesse as well has known Adrienne for years, I would say. It's been years. But really, Adrienne, we'd love to just have you tell us a little bit about you, give us a little kind of like brief about what you're working on right now, specifically perhaps Cultivate Real Estate. So if you don't mind, give us a quick kind of background on where you've come from and what is Cultivate Real Estate.
Sure. Yeah. So I've lived in Atlanta since 2000, moved here in middle school, December 2000, and it was quite the move for my family. But love Atlanta, been here, ever since, besides running off to college for a few years. And so when I came back, I moved into the city. I grew up in the suburbs. Shout out OTP, ITP, you know who you are. Mm-hmm. And so I moved to Inman Park after college and was actually working in nonprofit work for, I guess, 5 or 6 years before I bought my first house in 2014. And it's kind of like tattoos. Once you buy a house, it can be addicting and you kind of want to get more. And then I decided I love this so much. I want to help other people do it also. So I started Cultivate Real Estate in 2017 and have had a really great time with it. I've been able to help over 120 people either buy or sell real estate in Atlanta, Metro Atlanta. And yeah, it's been a blast. I've learned a ton and definitely still passionate about home ownership and just everything that kind of comes with it.
Dang. Yeah. You've given us a lot of stats there. So real quick, so you said you started Cultivate in 2017, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And you bought your first house in 2014. Is that right? Yeah.
That's
so
correct.
For the folks there, so me and Adrienne actually go way back. So she helped me buy my first house. So maybe we'll get into that a little bit. But tell us a little bit about, so what do you do with Cultivate, right? Like what's kind of your role? You said you're the founder. What do you kind of do now?
Yeah, so I'm still the lead agent. I have been building a team in the last year or so. So it's myself, and then I have operations manager, a showing specialist, and a transaction coordinator. I'm still the lead agent, so I still work with all the buyers and sellers that come through our doors, so to speak. So my main focus is like working with buyers and sellers directly, and then growing my team and being able to make sure that we can provide the service that we feel like our clients deserve as a team that's growing in our, volume as well as just our knowledge base of Atlanta.
Okay. Now, obviously you're still working hand in hand with people. And you mentioned a little bit, you said you loved just helping people find houses. You loved helping people kind of like understand the process. Can you, take us a little step back and really talk about like the why behind that, right? Like, why did you get started in that? You said they're like tattoos, right? Is that, because I don't know if everyone feels like buying a house is like getting a tattoo. I'm just gonna go ahead and say
what do you think, Jesse?
I think it'd be very painful and it's stuck with you forever. No. I think it's
yeah. But you mentioned you love helping people do it. Talk to us a little bit about like the why behind kind of like why you even started.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it was kind of twofold. I bought my first house in 2014 with a down payment assistance program. So like I said, I was in nonprofit. And so I had limited resources as far as just like how much money for a down payment, et cetera. But I really felt like, for some reason, homeownership seemed to be the answer. If I knew I was going to be in Atlanta long term, why would I keep paying rent? So I set out to like learn more about the process, and honestly, I had no idea where to start. So I remember talking to my aunt about it one day, and she was like, "Here's how you get started. Just call this number and see what you get pre-approved for." So I got pre-approved for $100,000, and I was like, "All right, how do I take Atlanta by storm with $100,000 pre-approval?" And I decided, you know what, maybe the kind of house I could buy right now isn't really what I'm looking for. So I put it off for like 6 to 9 months, but that was a big first step, just to like get pre-approved, figure out like what does this even look like. And so about, I guess, 9 months later is when I was like, all right, well, I've saved a little bit more money. Maybe I can try this again. And I'd also at that point joined a new church. And so I was like, okay, I really want to be close to that if possible. And so I started out the process again and found out about this down payment assistance program that gave you 10% for the down payment if you qualified income-wise. Well, I qualified income-wise. And yeah, I was like, it was a big, big move. And I think I lived with you at the time, JC. So you kind of remember parts of that process, but
oh yeah,
it felt like one of the most adulting things I'd ever done. I think I was 25 at the time. And my parents were like, "You're not ready to buy a house." And I was like, "We'll just figure it out." And so I bought a house and I got that assistance. And then I pretty much became a landlord at the same time because I ended up renting out some of the rooms in the house. And so to be honest, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. And there was a lot of ups and downs. But about 3 or 4 years in, I realized that my house had appreciated by like $150,000 in like 3 years. And I was like, wait, what? Like, all of this stress, if you told me I got paid $150,000 for it, I would probably say I'll do it again. So that was a different time. But also, I bought a house just last year, and to be honest, it's appreciated on a pretty large scale as well. So yeah, I've got 2 houses right now. They're my tattoos, and the nice thing is that they are a little easier to get rid of than tattoos. But yeah, I don't know. I really believe in home ownership. Homeowners are 33 times more wealthy than renters. And I just am really passionate about helping people who are at that point that I was at when I was like, okay, I want to do this. I think it could be a good thing, but I don't really have any idea what to do next.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's great. And Adrienne, we know that from where you bought your first house it was the Old Fourth Ward, right? Mm-hmm. So you're also a pioneer in just finding those areas that are going to.
Yeah. Thank you. I'd like to think so. Honestly, I just got really lucky. So I know that as easily as I got lucky, I could get unlucky one day. So I try to stay pretty humble about it and just kind of keep an idea on things. But I definitely help being able to turn people onto neighborhoods that maybe they hadn't thought of before as well.
Mm-hmm. I remember going with you to show one of our friends' houses in the Bankhead area. And that was, I think, early on in your real estate days. And you did a great job.
Thank you. He was actually my first full transaction. He didn't know it at the time. And so, but yeah, he was awesome. I called him and he was like, "I'll buy a house in a year." And then like a month later, we were looking at a house and he's still there. And I think he's really happy. And so, yeah, I remember that day very well. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, we get this question all the time, so I'm going to flip it back to you. Tell us about the name Cultivate and how you came up with that and story behind it.
Yeah, that's a great question. When I became a homeowner, I felt like there was a side of me that came to life that had come to life before. I kind of bebopped through a lot of things in life and wasn't into academia too much. I mean, I went to school, but I wasn't really there to learn. I was there to kind of have fun and just get to know people and kind of just check the box, to be honest. But then when I became a homeowner, it was like, oh my gosh, like if I don't cut this grass or pay someone to, it's not going to get cut. And I just like saw this side of me come out that I just hadn't seen. And I just think that ownership in general can kind of have that effect on people, like, oh man, this is on me to really take care of. And so the idea of Cultivate Real Estate is just kind of that concept of like, this is my little part of the earth right now that I feel like I'm responsible for and that I get to cultivate. But not only just physically, but community wise as well. Like when you become a homeowner, you take interest in things you never had interest in my opinion, before. you care about sidewalks or streetlights or crime or public schools and their ratings and those kinds of things. And so, yeah, so that's kind of where the name came from, was just like, hey, I want to help people cultivate their space and their community and make the most of, what they've been given.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's always cool to hear how, like, of course, like branding and how stories come together. And you mentioned community. Maybe we could talk a little bit about community here. So for those of you who don't know, we do partner with Adrienne. She's one of our like amazing supporters and partners. And because we do a lot of community together, maybe you could tell me, and I don't even know, what's your earliest memory of Community Bucket, right? Like what it might be pre-partnering with us, or just maybe even a favorite memory of kind of like our working together. That might be fun to hear.
Yeah, for sure. So we just started, I just started as a corporate sponsor just, I guess, a year or two ago. So it's been fairly recent, but Bucket's been around my life for a very long time, since JC and I lived together. And I was running my own nonprofit at the time. And so I wasn't super interested in getting involved in another, because it was so much of my life at the time. But I feel like I've been very involved just through stories from JC, and then just getting to know the community of friends that she's developed through Community Bucket. So I think now, weren't we on like a dodgeball team or something with Jesse, or was it kickball? Like, I can't remember, Jesse, how you and I got connected.
It was softball.
Softball. Okay. It was one of those ball sports. And I remember like going to the bar afterwards, and JC being like, oh yeah, Jesse's the founder of Community Bucket, and meeting Jesse. And yeah, so it's definitely been something I've been aware of, and just in the last few years have gotten a chance to really see more of what you guys do, and really see that like this is an extremely important aspect of community in Atlanta. And just, I love the marriages that have formed out of it. And just, I think hearing that on the first podcast, was it 8 or more marriages or something like that, which is just insane.
Yeah.
And then I think like in such a time as this, Jesse and I were just chatting, like community and service is like something that I think with the pandemic, people have been missing so much. And so I'm just super excited to see how this organization continues to meet the needs of people to be known and belong in a community, but then also to be able to serve and be able to get to know people in a way that's, being active participants in a community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Adrienne, tell us, and God, you're bringing back memories of that softball team.
you forgot about that, didn't you?
We won the championship, for those who did not know.
Oh yeah. If nothing else came out of that whole season, we won the championship.
So we've, over the years, kind of as an organization, grew up in Atlanta. We've expanded since, but Atlanta is still, one of our biggest cities and home of the organization. So we love Atlanta. Tell us, just, you obviously are very invested not only in helping people build homes or find homes and build roots and cultivate their own community, but really, I think for me, one of the things about Atlanta is it really, people can find what they want in it. And there's so many different pockets. And so I'm curious to hear from you, just some of your favorite things about the city as a whole that make you so invested in it today.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, before I had a toddler, I would say being 20 minutes from the Atlanta airport, where I can pretty much jump on a plane and get anywhere in the world, may or may not have a layover, is one of my favorite things about Atlanta. It's something that I've taken for granted because I've been here so long, but like literally if I was in a city where I had to like take a jumper plane an hour to get anywhere and then go somewhere, like I just think I would not know what to do with myself. So that's I think one of the things I love about Atlanta. I think also like just the fact that you're in a sprawling city, like you can go out to eat every single night for years and still have new places to try. That's been a huge thing I love about Atlanta, and just the energy in general. Like there's just, people are here because there's a strong reason for it. And people are pretty passionate about whatever they're into. So I like being able to meet people with all different passions and experiences, and know that like the thing that kind of ties us together as people is that we're here because of the opportunities that Atlanta affords us. And because of that, we continue to stay and try to grow as people and as a city.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Speaking of opportunities, I think that's one thing that, and the passions, right? That's one thing that I love. Of course, talking about nonprofits, talking about how to like build wealth, how to cultivate your home. Do you have anything that you're working on now that you could share, like anything upcoming, some kind of event, and then maybe like a tip or some kind of advice if people are wanting to, build that community, right? Start that maybe in Atlanta or just like purchasing a home. There's a couple questions there, but what would you say to people who are wanting to start that kind of process?
I think one of the biggest answers I would give for that is, first of all, just kind of evaluate where you are and evaluate the things that seem to be working and the things that you enjoy. And I think that like putting your talents and your time and even your resources into that thing, I think is a great place to start, just like cultivating your life, like outside of whether you own a home or not. I think that just like doing an inventory of what you're involved in and what you have to offer, because everyone has something to offer, to our world and to our community. And then I think that like from the wealth building perspective, so this has been a new thing I've been doing. So since we purchased our second home this past year, we've converted our first home into an Airbnb. That's been a huge opportunity for us to learn, make mistakes, meet some really interesting people, try to accommodate a lot of different personality types, which has been fun and also challenging. But I have like honestly like totally loved it. And we live 2 doors down. And so it's like it's kind of like my hobby, which my husband thinks is hilarious because it's like kind of stresses him out to the max. And he's like, wait, it's 8 p.m. and you're like trying to improve our listing on Airbnb. Like you've been working all day. I'm like, this is fun. This is a hobby. So that's been really fun. And I think also just like, so I actually have I'm hosting a class on how to become an Airbnb super host soon. And I've actually had mentors that completely took me under their wing and showed me the ropes on how to do every single thing along the way to become a super host. And I want to be able to do the same thing for others. So of course, I hope some business comes generated out of it as well. But I think that's something that's a little different with my company, is that if we really feel like there's an opportunity for you to grow wealth over time, and that might mean not selling your home, we're going to be honest with you about that. And we're going to say like, hey, yeah, we'd love to have another listing, but once you sell this house, you can't get it back very easily. So what if we talked about some other options on how you can grow your wealth and find you a new house, but keep your old one if it seems to make sense? So that's something that we've been kind of focusing on. We did teach a class on how to grow your net worth this past year, and had some good responses from that. I'm sure we'll have something like that similar coming up. But just getting people to, like, normal quote unquote people around the table to talk about this stuff in a way that I think is so different than what's being offered. And you can kind of look at someone and get an idea of like where they are in their physical fitness, but you can't look at someone and know where they are within their like fiscal fitness, because just because they drive a certain car doesn't mean that they have a certain net worth. And so I think that's just super intriguing to me. And that's a huge part of why I really love getting into real estate and helping people kind of like grow into what their goals are and challenge that as well.
Adrienne, how do people get in touch with you? We'll put links to some of those classes in the show notes, but if somebody is listening to this and thinking, I need to call Adrienne now.
I would love to hear from people, even if it's like, hey, I thought your podcast, your message on the podcast was cool. Like, I would love to hear from you. So my personal cell is 404-578-0483. And just send me a text or give me a call. And I would love to just, get to know you and see if there's any ways that I can help you in your wealth building journey or your, real estate portfolio. And then an email is adrienne@cultivateatl.com. And my operations manager checks that often for me just in case I miss something. So definitely definitely reach out. We'd love to get connected and see if there's anything we can do to help you. And even if you're not in Atlanta, if you're in another city and you're like, I don't know where to start, like we would also love to connect with you, because I will actually call and interview realtors for you, since I kind of know what to ask, and give you some recommendations based on that as well.
Well, we love that. And we wouldn't be working with you as a partner, and obviously appreciate all of your support. But one thing we as an organization, and just personally, JC and I are always trying to surround ourselves with people in the community that really share our values, not just wanting to put a name and a business card out at an event, which is exactly why we're so excited to be working with you over these last couple of years and hopefully continue in the future. And I'll vouch for you and say, if I don't live in Atlanta now, but if I did, you're definitely high on the list of agents that I would recommend. And hopefully any of you out there listening who are thinking about jumping into the home buying game or Airbnb hosting game or whatever it might be, will get in touch with Adrienne. So
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. One last thing to wrap up, Adrienne. We love always asking every guest this final question. So the name of our podcast, We Dig Community, for all the reasons we've talked about, I think all three of us dig community. But what is it that you, Adrienne, either as real estate Adrienne or person Adrienne, what do you dig?
Like within community or just in general?
No, just anything in life.
What do I dig? Great question. So I think, yeah, no, this is good. I love seeing visions become reality. That's like my thing. So that can be as simple as a prank, or a nonprofit or a company or whatever. One of the latest things we did was we added as most everyone did, I think, is we got like a screened in back porch built. And so like I literally could just stand back there for hours and watch these guys like throw up the framing and everything, because I was like, this is my like vision becoming reality. And so that's what I dig. That's what I love the most.
Awesome. Did you say a prank coming?
Yeah, it could be. Exactly. And I've got stories, but maybe another time I can share about that.
We'll have to do a follow-up on that one.
Exactly.
Well, Adrienne, thank you so much for joining us. We are super excited to have you both as a friend and supporter of Community Bucket, and an agent in Atlanta that's doing the right thing and helping a lot of people realize their dreams and cultivate better lives for themselves. So thanks for joining, and we will hopefully catch up with you again soon.
Sounds great. Talk to you later. Thank you.
Thank you. See you later.